Hello, I'm Pancakes, and this is my insane sugarcane farm. The idea was I had a farm for sugarcane that went all the way from layer 0 up to 256, and it's not just a single row of sugarcane either, it is sugarcane farming that goes all the way across 10 separate layers. As you can see, there is so much sugarcane on this thing that by the time I finished harvesting it, because it is fully manual, it's fully grown back for me to harvest once more. This is obviously a farm that needs no expansion whatsoever, and so as a contrarian, I think I'm legally obliged to expand the sugarcane farm to go all the way up and down to the new height limits found in Minecraft 1.18. This is going to be a 384 block tall sugarcane farm by the time I'm done with this expansion project. However, how do you even begin to start on something like that? How do you begin to make a sugarcane farm that goes so much higher? And the truth is, it's very hard to look at a project this big and wonder how you can ever do it. But let me give you some tips on big projects today, and also just talk about the importance of life, the universe, and everything in between, because welcome back to an episode of the Minecraft Bedrock Update Adventures Let's Play. And do you want to know a little secret? Part of the sugarcane farm has never had sugarcane on, these last 3 blocks as you can see right here, because I just never dug those down to bedrock, and I just figured no one would notice, and truth be told, most people didn't. But today, I'm going to be showing you how even with these extra bits of project I'm going to be taking on, it's still going to be an easy enough task, because here's how you approach any project. You split it up into small bite-sized tasks. So step 1 is going to be to dig all these free, there's actually 5 of them I think. Oh god, okay, well that's going to help, isn't it? I'm going to dig all of these layers all the way down to bedrock. And, you know, step 1 actually is fix the creeper damage. Wait, step none is to fix the creeper damage. There we go, making that make sense without ruining the flow. How did these blocks even get exploded to begin with? I'm so confused. Anyway, so life pro tip, I think building a farm that requires a lot of mining where you're focusing on the blocks, probably not the best of things to be building at night. So let's actually go inside and deal with this in the morning. Okay, so as I was saying, step 1 is to dig these extra 3 blocks all the way down to where the trenches are. I have the really nice advantage of these not already being filled with water, because I never placed the water and indeed the sugarcane here, which can really help me out in the future. But for now, let's dig them down. Oh no, step 1 has gone awry. I didn't realize that it was this much of a slime chunk, that even inside the sugarcane farm chunks themselves, we would still find slimes spawning. How do you manage to ruin every single aspect of my life that you find yourself into, slimes? Seriously, slimes, they need a nerf. I mentioned it however many episodes ago, and I still agree that now it's a problem. Anyway, so we keep digging down, despite the pain, because we need to do this not only one time, but we have to repeat this exact same step a second time, like I mentioned. I don't even know how this makes any sense. The water just falls onto this stair block right here, and then it doesn't cause any more issues. Not gonna dispute that. Just gonna hope that they leave me alone so I can mine all the way down to bedrock. Or, I guess, deep slate layer. Not again! Why? Why does this happen to me? Why does everything I build have to be directly above a slime chunk? Anyway, as you can see, I now have dug huge holes that go all the way down to deep slate layer, which is only half as low as we need them to go. But you'll notice there's a big hole of a problem in between, which is that all of this layer has to be removed as well, and then the remaining blocks have to be, or then at least every 3rd layer, we have to replace it with some dirt just like exists up here. So that means that we have to, as you can see, dig some blocks, probably 3 just to be safe, then remove, okay, I did not see that one coming. Oh no, okay. As I was saying, we need to dig away the blocks that exist here right now. Am I in water right now? I'm not. The game wants to think that I am. It's kind of making me stand on my tiptoes. Only in first person, but whatever. But yeah, we have to dig away the remaining stone blocks and then replace them just like this with some dirt. And by doing this for a long enough time, eventually we end up with, you guessed it, a fully complete sugarcane farm. Wow, what a great idea. Do you want to see the weirdest thing? Minecraft just does not... Minecraft Bedrock cannot cope with water fluid dynamics at all. Things just go too strangely for anyone's liking. Anyway, we're going to go clear our inventory and then work on precisely that. It's funny because I love seeing big projects in Minecraft and I love coming up with ideas for them and starting to attempt them and all these sorts of things, but a lot of the time it can feel as though it's a very, very, you know, like, easy thing to do almost. Like, oh yeah, all you gotta do is you just gotta, like, place the blocks in the thing, and, like, you know, YouTube videos that make it seem quick and easy are definitely probably a part of what propagates that and makes it seem so doable. But the thing is like actually getting, you know, like again, the big thing people always ask for is like, how do you stay motivated? Staying motivated to mine blocks just for the service of some greater goal a long, long way down the road is genuinely very hard for most people. And so I guess the real answer to like, how do you make big projects? How are we going to be making the sugarcane farm so much bigger? Really comes down to not a question of like, how does it happen? Because the answer is you remove a lot of blocks and then you take some of those blocks and you place some dirt and some water and then you place sugarcane next to them, and get this right, sugarcane will grow when it's next to water, even when it's flowing water, as a lot of people might not know. But yeah, the real question is like, how do you keep doing something for so long? Or how do you even like see out a big project? Because something, maybe I'm alone on this, so as you all know, the Let's Play is not only an opportunity for you to see a lot of survival quick stuff, but also an opportunity to hear what's been going on the last week in the real life Don't Have a Vlog series. And so the answer to that one is like, okay, in this last week, my a renovation on my house was finally finished. I I replaced 2 of the bathrooms in this house with like much nicer, like actually you would want to use these and you'll feel clean after using them replacements, because I bought a house that is in very, very poor condition. I know it's shocking. I made some comment on the 3rd channel about it being $1 million mansion or something like that, and it's like, yeah, that is a very tiny house in London that is in very bad condition. Welcome to property. Anyway, so long story short is so that finally happened, and like it's funny because when you look at the task of like build a bathroom, it seems really simple, and you're like, so all they had to do was step 1, tear out old bathroom, step 2, put new bathroom in, and you know, the fact that it took 3 months of several people coming around seems like it's ridiculous. It seems as though that can't be possibly true, but it's funny because you know, like I've often had the exact opposite opinion about things like buildings. Have you ever seen a skyscraper be like erected in the space of like a few months, or like even you know, like sometimes it's like weeks between when they start setting out to build a giant building and when they finish it? And I can't help but look at that and go, how does that happen? How do we go from I would like a building here to here is a fully finished building that people can live in such a short amount of time? Maybe it's just me that has this opinion. Maybe everyone else is very cynical and says, yeah, it's really easy to build a building. All you've got to do is like, you know, place some blocks down and then there you go, it's a skyscraper. But the truth is, every big project comes down to like a series of individual steps. I think as humans, it can be really overwhelming when you look at a really huge step like build a skyscraper, because if you asked me to do that exact job, I wouldn't know where to begin. I genuinely would look at it and I'd say, okay, so you need to build the concrete. I want to say there's concrete in a skyscraper, and so that's step 1. Then step 2 is like get utilities in there. You need, you know, like an electricity connection and a water pipe. And then like step 3 is like, oh, I don't know, fire safety. And then step 4 is weatherproof it, because there's like a second layer. Every building has like this second coating. I think it's called the cladding that keeps it from, you know, like being exposed to the elements. And so yeah, this is today we're going to be giving you the pure, what these long moments that take just 10 seconds in, you know, like in the speed cut actually look like as we go through them in real time. And it's an opportunity to kind of do a podcast style thing that I know a lot of people do appreciate. And you know, we'll have fun segments in here, like Toy Cat gives advice on how to date. You know, we're gonna have a lot of fun with all of this, and I hope that you enjoy this slightly longer Let's Play that people have been asking for a while. So here you go. Yeah, like the truth is, when looking at a really big task, it can be hard to work out how it gets done, and sometimes the exact opposite can happen, where you look at a task that you think is small, like, oh yeah, just expand the sugarcane farm. And it's like, how is it that you're going to be dedicating a full hour plus or whatever it is into expanding your sugarcane farm, but by the end of this video, it's only gonna have, have the capacity for an extra, like, 100, 200 sugarcanes when you need to be placing thousands of them down. And this is the kind of, this is, I guess, the complex thing that comes from, I hate slime so much. I cannot tell you enough how much I need this to be fixed. Yeah, the much more, the much more interesting part of the question here is, like, how does anyone really do anything? Because when building a sugarcane farm, it seems as though it's a pretty repetitive design, but things do get different now that we're here at roughly layer 0, because now we need to dig down, like we're going to do, except when you start digging down here, we now have water to worry about, because if we remove this block, water starts to flow in, so we can't remove that block, and instead we have to, like, dig a few down first, because the block down here needs to keep existing. Oh no, it doesn't. We dig all of these blocks out, and it's like, yeah, there's a lot that has to happen, and it's all going to be very hard, and welcome to what this challenge really is. This is a lot of the truth is like, when you look at a big task that looks unapproachable, like, I genuinely cannot tell you how someone builds, I don't know, an operating system even. Like think about it. The thing that you're running this video on, you're running this on the YouTube app, I hope at least. And so, how does the YouTube app run? Well, it's an app that runs on top of, you downloaded it from the store, and how that even works to begin with, like, it's requesting the video file that I uploaded to a server a long time ago, and then it's, it's playing it from that server, but, like, making sure that it plays at just the optimal quality so that you can watch this video, but without your internet, like, having to stop. Think about it. How long has it been since you had a YouTube video that had to buffer? Like, that's a nutty accomplishment, given the internet hasn't just magically gotten a million times better, right? So, yeah, like, and then that is built on top of an operating system, and the operating system, that whole app, by the way, that operating system has to take, like, the input from an app and from the user, combine those things, and make that run smoothly. Think about it. When was the last time your phone had major, like, lag, in the sense that, like, you tried to do something and it took a while to happen? Probably quite some time, because it's running all those things pretty seamlessly, despite the fact that there are more things than ever running on it. There's so many steps, and each of those steps has to be built so painstakingly to make them any good. And so it's sometimes I look at the world and I'm like, how does anything get done? And my answer to that is, you've got to do things in steps. The reason I said step done and step 1, and what is going to be step 2, which is placing those sugarcane bits and going down further for step 3, is because when you look at a very big task, it's so scary, it's unapproachable, and you do nothing. If I hope that I'm alone on this one, but I fear that I'm not. Sometimes I'll look at a big pile of work that I need to do. Like, as this video goes out, I'm hopefully on a flight somewhere, assuming I'm not COVID positive. I'm hopefully on a plane. Well, hopefully, and so, before I can go on this plane that I need to be on right now, like, what has to happen is I need to have X amount of footage on the drive for editors to deal with, including this very video, by the way. I need to have like, come up with X amount of stuff that I can do. I need. There's a lot of, like, I need the channel to run effectively by itself for a couple of weeks, because I'm taking that January time off that YouTubers love so much. And again, seems like a complex enough thing to do, to, like, wait, so the channel, you're not going to have new videos for a full 2 months? It's like, yeah, but what does that really... How did a skeleton horse end up in here? I'm not going to... I'm not going to question it. We can let the skeleton horse live. Anyway, yes, now we have to, by the way, dig each of these out, and then replace it with more dirt as we go along, until we get all... We don't need the skeleton horse, he can die. Will he die, actually? He won't die. How nice. That's a problem for future me to deal with. But yeah, there is this fun thing of, like, trying to solve any big problem is so overwhelming that you can look at it and you can go, oh yeah, I don't want to deal with that. So what I did earlier, because I was so stressed about it, is I was like, man, that's a very big problem. You know how I can best deal with it? By laying on the sofa and taking a nap. And 2 hours later I woke up and I had the exact same problem, but now I was tired, because waking up from a nap and not being tired is, like, a hard thing. In fact, waking up from sleep and not being tired, I know that's the whole purpose of sleep, but it doesn't work that way for me, at least. And so, okay, and now I'm tired, I have 2 fewer hours, and I've still got the same workload. But it's like a human instinct almost, like, if you can't do a task, you like step out of the way, and it's like, well, can't be done, won't be done. And so the real challenge with whether it be a Minecraft project or a real life project, you know, are you building a bathroom, a skyscraper, or are you extending your sugarcane farm? The real challenge in any of those projects, in any of those things, is in being able to like assure yourself that you can do a thing. You know, like what can you really do as a person? Who knows? But you have to kind of convince yourself it's as much as humanly possible, basically. Because if you convince yourself you can't do something, why would you even start trying? Why would you put your effort towards something that you're sure you can't do? That would be a waste of time. You might as well not, pro tip. And so, the thing that I find is most useful for this, if anyone else has this exact same problem as me, which I'm gonna take a gamble and say that maybe you have, is, honestly, the thing that helps the most is splitting things up into tiny tasks. You know, a very big task like building a building should not be considered one task, right? Because if you consider that as one task, it's like, oh god, no person can just sit down in a day and do that. You need a lot of people sitting down over multiple days, doing a lot of combined work to make anything like that happen. And so, okay, we're not going to consider that as one task because there's so much going down. We're going to split it down into like, okay, plan a building. We're going to split it down into plan this, that, etc. And same with the sugarcane farm. This, if I set myself the target, if I will build this whole thing, this project that I need to have done because I want it to go all the way down to the new height limit, then I'm just going to be like, and I'm going to blindly attempt something without really knowing how to do it, or I'm going to lay down on the sofa and I'm going to take a nap, and it's not going to be useful for anyone either. And so yeah, that's my pro tip. If you find yourself being overwhelmed by any task in life, just split it into a series of smaller tasks, and if even then it seems overwhelming, because like, okay, it's overwhelming that I have to extend the height of this thing up, which I've already done now, by the way. I have to extend the height upwards, then on top of extending the height upwards, I need to, you know, dig at these 3 blocks out that I'm doing right now. Then on top of doing those 3 blocks out, I have to dig 64 blocks down, and 64 blocks in an extended area, because it's 3 extra blocks, by the way. And it's like, yeah, that seems hard, huh? Like, seriously, I have to, just to give you a peek at what that would look like. Okay, maybe we shouldn't give you a peek. Where does this even come from? Oh, there's a block there. Anyway, so, we're gonna switch out to our pickaxe. We're actually gonna just go ahead and, switch pickaxe entirely. And we have to dig down 64 blocks like this. Which is a lot, in case oh no, I should not have hit you. That was a noise I did not like hearing. We have to dig down real far. Actually, what is this? Why is there a layer of deep slate and then we're straight back into stone? Oh, I guess because this is the deep slate that replaced bedrock. Oh, okay, well, there goes the skeleton horse. You ever hear a skeleton horse die in survival? Now you have. And it was purely by accident. But we got some bones, so, you know, that's nice. But yeah, I think that you gotta, like, split a task into as many tasks as possible, and then just realistically attempt one of those tasks, knowing that you can finish it. We have this weird dopamine-based system in our brains that, like, rewards us for doing certain tasks and punishes us for not doing other tasks. And one of the easiest ways to get some reward from that system that encourages you to do the work you want to do is to just, like, congratulate yourself on a task that's done. Be like, you know what? Today, all I needed to do was expand this thing out by 3 blocks, and so far I've done 2 of the 5 levels we need to do. Hopefully, by the end, we'll have done 5 of 5. And let's not focus on this 3rd task just yet. You know, if I finish the task I'm doing in this video, I can mine this down to minus 64. But do you get a feel already for how big this is going to have to be if it has to cover all of the things we're doing today? Very big is the answer, and that is too big even for what we're doing today. Although you might have seen it happened in a stream that's happening in the past as of you watching this Let's Play, so let's not try to address the timeline consistency if there's too much. Ooh, there we go, right at the top. Oh no, not right at the top. But yeah, so I actually think that, okay, this exact same advice of like split a task into smaller tasks and you'll live a happier life is the exact thing. I get a lot of people, some of them sarcastic, some of them like actually real, being like, man, you're an adult, right, Toy Cat? You know, adults in air quotes, obviously. But you're, you know, like, how do you, like, I had someone in my real life ask this, otherwise I would believe it's, like, weird teenagers trying to get responses on the internet. But, you know, like, how do you date a person? Like, yeah, because sometimes I used to think about this when I was a teenager. Like, isn't it weird that basically every adult you know ends up in a relationship at some point? You know, it is like a not fully. It's an optional, but not really optional part of the human experience for some reason. Okay, I need a place to store this deep slate stone. I can't just keep. I've got one of it. Okay, you know, we'll store it in here. Problem solved until it's not solved. Yeah, it used to terrify me. So many things about being an adult. I've shared before, and this sounds like nowadays people say like, oh yeah, I'm literally gonna kill myself because I've got homework to do. Or like, you know, like it's like a funny punchline to a joke. But like genuinely my solution to, oh god, how do you adults pay bills? Every month you have to pay a gas bill? I don't even know what gas does. Why do I have to pay a bill for it? Then also, like, so there's bills every month that if you don't pay, people get mad at you and they start stealing your stuff. And it's perfectly legal, by the way. That's how bailiffs work. So, okay, you gotta pay these things every month. You gotta, like, work 40 hours every week. And then you gotta have, like, a relationship of some form where people look at you and they go, why doesn't he have a relationship, huh? Is he, like, a cat killer? I bet that's what he is. Why wouldn't he have a girlfriend otherwise? Or a wife, you know, at some point in your life that becomes the expected norm. It's it's funny because it's like it's one of those exact same things where if you look at a lesson I learned while I was learning to drive that I've heard repeated again and again, like for cycling and scootering and for all these things, is like if you want to go somewhere, look at that thing with your eyes, right? Oh god, I needed to get some dirt, by the way. I did not get some dirt. Let's live life without the dirt and let's see if we even notice. We will probably notice. Anyway, so the thing I heard during my driving lesson, it was like, okay, if you're about to, like, you steer where you're looking. If you look off to the side of the road, slowly you're gonna steer that way. And this is true for cycling too. And it's funny because this is like a very real piece of advice as to how you know, like driving works. Like if you look at something long enough, you're going to subconsciously start driving that way unless you heavily correct to make sure that you don't. And so it's not only a, you know, like a useful tip that helps you understand how driving works. There you go, internet. You're getting driving lessons for free with your Let's Play Monday. 2 for the price of 1. This is worth becoming a member over, I think. But become a member now and get more great advice, such as how to drive from the internet man who only learned a few short months ago. But yeah, it's like it's not only a literal piece of advice as to how you will drive at things, but it's also a really good metaphorical piece of advice for how the world works. The way the world like actually you know, like does things is like if you are imagining what your future will be like and you're taking the steps every day to go towards that future, you have a much better chance of that being true than someone who just goes, yeah, that's what I want, but I don't really think about it a lot. You know, the more you think about something, the more likely it is to be true. Obviously, there's limits to this. Like, I can't imagine I will be a 6 foot tall, I don't know, I'm trying to think of a silly thing, but I'm accidentally running into a lot of things. I was gonna be like, I'm gonna be a 6 foot tall, you know, half dolphin, half woman, half inanimate object. And it's like, well, you know, I'm not gonna criticize people's yeah, but like, you know, like if you imagine something, I think you actually can get your height increased. They do something weird with the cartilage between your muscles. I don't know if they can increase that by like 3 inches of height, but you know, if I go to a doctor, maybe I'd know about these things. Whereas if I just keep imagining them without any real conception of how I'm going to get there, it gets harder. You know, the tip I'm basically trying to say is like, think about how a future that you'd like could happen and the steps you need to do, and you're more likely to have it happen than someone who just vaguely hopes for it. And so yeah, this is, you know, if you think about your future, if you think about, you know, like, if you look at it, I guess, is what I'm saying, you'll start to steer towards it. And that's not just metaphorically true, it's, like, actually true for this piece of advice. And so, yeah, how do you... you actually, let's do a fun little segment. Dating advice with Toy Cat. Do a title card, editor. Wow, look at that. Yeah, look at the power of editing. Not only do we do rating Henry VIII's very ugly wives, we do dating advice from Minecraft YouTuber, my favorite little segment. Anyway, so in this little segment, I do want to actually discuss, like I want to give some advice that because sometimes one of the things that I like to do the most is give, you know, like put out into the world what I wish had been there when I needed it the most. You know, when I was relying on YouTube and the internet for content, there were things that I found useful, there were things I found not useful, and today I'm going to be giving you... Why is there dirt down here? Today I'm going to be giving you some advice that I would have found very useful when I was a teenager looking at the... Because again, I had a friend who approached me when I was like 15, 14 maybe. I was like, Toy Cat, how do I get a girlfriend? He didn't say Toy Cat, he said Andrew. You know, that's my name, fun fact. You know, people in real life don't call me Toy Cat, and it's a real shame. They're doing it wrong. But someone approached me and they're like, yeah, how do you do this? And my response was just like, I don't know, man. Like, talk to a girl. Like, just to clarify, like, this was after I'd only had like, you know how like there's like those like basically not relationships that you have when you're like prior to 13. You know, like where you're just like repeating what you see on TV and you're like, oh yeah, this is like a status thing. And so anyway, I had like when I was 8 years old a girlfriend, but I hadn't done any of this newfangled adult dating or anything. I had an e-girlfriend too, but also when you're like 12 years old, also not going to count that towards your thing. And so yeah, my response was like, I don't know, man. And I thought about it myself and I was like, yeah, it is kind of terrifying that like if you really do just come into this thinking, I want to... Also, I shouldn't dig this low down. I've got to make note of that. And also, I've got to make note of the fact that we've done a whole nother layer. Very exciting. So let's get out of here. Let's place the last of these dirt blocks that need to be placed up here. Maybe also remove the the random stone that is chilling up there too. And there we go. Look at that. I mean, don't look at it, because it's a little bit ugly. There we go. We can move on to the next layer now. And this time, just to treat myself, I'm even gonna... I'm gonna take the ladder up rather than trying to fly, because it's gone terribly for me every single time. Well, I guess going this way too can also go terribly. Anyway, so, yeah, I thought about this for a while, and I was like, man, like, what is the advice I would give me you know, like, what is the advice I'd give him at this time? But also me, I was like, yeah, this is so terrifying. When everyone pictures their future, they picture themselves like, you know, like, doing the normal things. But, like, how does that really come to be? And the answer is, believe it or not, you split it into smaller... Like, if you're imagining yourself like, okay, there's this thing I need to do because everyone tells me I need to do this thing, you're probably doing it wrong. If you want a relationship solely because, you know, like, if you wanted that solely because, like, society's telling you should do it, maybe not a smart idea. Maybe it is a smart idea. Maybe you just need people to push you along for everything you're doing in your life. But probably not. Statistically, not the best of reasons to do. The best reason to do something is not because you feel obligated to do something. That's how people end up in terrible things. So break it down into like, okay, step one is how do you find someone that you would like to be around for long enough that is both single and offer gender where there is a chance they might offer gender and attraction status where they are likely or even possible to do your thing. And it's like, okay, so how do you find friends? And honestly, that's actually one of those really, really hard questions. How do you find friends? I think people struggle with this more and more as you get older. This is the one reason people say the school years are the best years of their life. They're not saying it because they love being forced into a room and being told what to do every single day of their life. They're saying it because, like, oh yeah, there's like a camaraderie. Like, people who work at, I've never known someone who works at McDonald's who doesn't, you know, like, despite all the challenges the job itself presents, who don't love the fact that, like, yeah, but you're all going through this hardship together. There's something about shared hardship that we just really like as people. And so, yeah, find someone who would like to spend some time talking to you, right? And then step two is like, okay, spend some time doing the thing until you are somewhat confident that's, or even if you're just like, you know, you're getting the signal and you feel like they are some amount into you, then ask like, hey, would you like to maybe go on an official date with just me and you for the purposes of maybe don't say anything like that, but like, you know, like it's really quite simple when you break it down into a ton of separate steps. Like, yeah, talk to someone until you feel but like it gets way more complex than that when you start to add in like, okay, so you've also got to make sure it's someone that your family likes, because of course that's what we do. Also, they've got to have, successful enough job prospects, and they've got to be attractive, because otherwise you're gonna be thinking about your social status, and it's like, no. You're doing that thing where you're complicating things. In life, there's only a few basic steps. You can add on your things to those steps if you find those things easy, but otherwise, I think, like, the life pro tip I'm gonna give you is trying to complicate things is usually a bad idea. Because, like, again, I think that, like, having high standards for anything is really, really great when it comes to, your job. Or it's really, really great if you're really good at a thing and you can, have those. Like, I mentioned, like, several times now, I've looked into cars just for curiosity, just so I know what, like, is going on. And there are some people who are super, super specific about, like, yeah, the carburetor on this one is, like, really, really naff. It'll go out after just 100,000 miles. Who wants that, am I right? Or, like, get the Seat Ibiza, because it's got a really nice steering distance. I don't even know what people say, but like like, people are super, super specific, but it's fine. You can be that once you're in something for long enough. When you're in the learning phase of something, when you're just in the I would like to get this done so I can learn more, you just kind of vibe out. It's kind of funny actually when you think about it, that, like, basically everything anyone, like, does, like, if you think about the human, okay, so let's think about humans and, like, dating and, like, the concept of, by the way, how do you find a boyfriend? Same thing in reverse. Should have said by now. How very uninclusive of me. Apologies to anyone listening who's been like, man, Toy Cat. Actually, all of the women who listen to this channel statistically are lesbians. We've proven this before. Don't think I should be saying this midway through a Let's Play, which I very clearly said was like, here's advice for me as a 14-year-old. But me as a 14-year-old probably was a lesbian too. So, I got called it a lot actually, and something like, I've always struggled. One of the, like, defining struggles of my life. I think that, like I said before, I think our struggles define us much more than our successes do. I think the things that you find hard are much more appealing and interesting to people than the things you find good. Like, obviously, the example I said before of, like, yeah, the person who looks like a supermodel, you're thinking of their, like, the great thing that they have here, and, like, oh yeah, that is what everyone looks at and goes, wow, that do be hot. And so, like, obviously, like, sometimes we like this, like, objective show of strength. But I think most people actually find weakness to be much more interesting. Actually find your struggles to be the more interesting things about you. Because those are the things that really define you. You don't... Most of the things that, to have a discussion about privilege, if you don't mind. Most of the ways in which you are privileged are ways that you don't notice. The biggest benefit of money, for instance, which is the biggest, like, form of privilege, right? Like, is, like, being able to, like, pay people money to do things for you is an amazing ability that people don't appreciate enough. But, the biggest benefit of money is in having enough money to not think about money for most people. I had a conversation with a professional. I think it's something I find hard to talk about is I've been seeing a therapist recently. I've just been, like, emotionally, I'm not, like, kind of, like, out of control and everything. Like, I didn't realize how much, like, sticky tape there was holding myself together until recently. Like, because again, we like, that's like seen as weakness, and, like, there's a big thing of, like, as man, do not be weak, be strong all the time. People love when you're strong, but fewer people love you when there's a weakness there. But, like, yeah, there's like so much spaghetti holding me together that doesn't really make sense anyway. And so I've just started speaking to someone to, like, understand it at least, because I think a lot of people have this, like, conception of your mind as being something that's either fixed or broken, right? It's broken or not fully there. But I would describe it as being much more about, like, you have a thing in your we have these, like, machines that do all of the thinking for us, and sometimes they get into some weird patterns. Just like how I have a air fryer, and for some reason it cooks things in a very strange way if I put it below a certain temperature. It basically doesn't cook them. It's really, really, really. But by the way, air fryer is very good. Big fan of them. But it's like, yeah, that's strange. You just gotta kind of like know that, measure that, keep that in mind. Sometimes my washing machine like has this weird liquid on top of all of the clothes. The clothes, they're still clean, but it's like it's something that's gone wrong that just hasn't caused a huge problem. Same with if you think about it, right? Look at the way I'm playing Minecraft. The way that I dig blocks, like, astounds and confuses people. And it's like, yeah, something is wrong there. It just doesn't matter because you're still getting the job done. I would argue that if you're looking at this and you're saying something is wrong here, then it clearly does matter because as a YouTuber, part of my job is trying to make this look somewhat good to you. But, you know, that's kind of besides the point if we're being entirely honest with ourselves. The purpose... See, right, like, how would you mine 6 blocks down like this? Would you mine all the way down on one pillar, then all the way down another? There's a lot of different ways, and none of them are the correct answer. I just know that I'm doing distinctly the wrong answer. Anyway, yeah, so I've just kind of noticed, like, getting into weird thought patterns, because sometimes, like, you can be so focused on, like, outcome-based thinking that you forget, like, how thinking can be done. Or maybe you get focused the other way around. You're, like, so focused on, like, okay, there is this specific pattern I need to follow. This thing is morally wrong because it's always been taught that way. How do I avoid that? But it's like, well, you know, if you go into things just, like, I think there are so many valuable lessons we can learn that, like, you know, are definitive and all the time. But most of life is this weird gray area scale of confusing things. I had someone like appear from my past recently. I got so terrified because someone I almost shouldn't be saying this on a public record, but you know, it's just me and you, internet. But someone I knew recently, like, just like accused me of something. They're like, you know, I thought about this thing that happened, and I've decided that I didn't like it. But it's you know, like and it's like, okay, like, retroactively deciding something that, like, was perfectly fine from years ago. Actually, if I'm being honest, it was something really bad they did to me years ago. They've decided that retroactively, I'd done this terrible thing to them. They're like, yeah, actually, I don't think it was cool that you, that, you know, like, it doesn't matter what I did because your very knowing of me was bad, and so, you know, don't worry. No, they did say nicely afterwards, after I had this, like, entire meltdown that, like, oh yeah, as a public figure, I can just be accused of things, and if no one's gonna be like, you know, let's work out what really happened. They can be like, yeah, boo, you hear that? Like, you know, someone said something directly contrary to the truth, and it's fine because, or like, you know, like obviously there's always elements of the truth in there, and that's what makes things more muddy and confusing because we all have different memories of things, right? We all have these weird recollections, and it's like, oh yeah, well, they said afterwards, don't worry. This isn't an intention for this, that. And I was like, okay, that's good. But it's still terrifying that that's just a thing that can happen, that, like, we can retroactively change. And, you know, like, I wonder because, you know, I'm saying this like this is something that has only happened. You know, like, that changing your memory is something that has only happened once with someone who maybe wanted to, maybe could have caused me some harm with it. But the truth is that this happens with everything all of the time. We're changing how we... Oh my god, how am I so bad at climbing up a waterfall? We're changing our memory about all sorts of things that happened in the past all of the time. I think about this a lot because, you know, like, we are not static human beings. We like to think of ourselves as static because it helps us to understand ourselves just a little bit easier. Yeah, I'm really scared to remove this one dirt block now. I feel as though bad things are going to happen when I do it. Okay, it's fine. Shouldn't have removed it if I was so scared. Or maybe I should have. Maybe removing the band-aid is a smart idea. But yeah, so I had this, like, extreme terror, and you know, on something that, like, there's this weird thing, and this has happened, like, maybe twice in my life, and I'm sure it happens to other people all the time too, you know, or maybe it doesn't, but, like, someone says something, you're like, but that is not how things seem to me, and then you realize that, oh yeah, the version of events that you see in your eye is the version of events that you're most distinctly, you know, like, you're always focused on your own perspective, And the reason why is because you spend all of your life living your perspective. No matter how well someone knows you, they can't ever know you as well as you know you, because they're not spending as much time with you as you are. How sad, how tragic, or maybe how beautiful that you can never truly lose yourself in that way. But, okay, throw the sand in here. And maybe throw the slime balls in the main chest. Or maybe just craft those slime balls up. We are ending up with so many slime blocks. Like, I don't even know what to do with them at this point. I might have to build myself a little salmon bouncer or something. Just to use up the slime at this stage. Anyway, we all have like different perspectives on things. And because of this, like, you alter your memories retroactively to, like, oh yeah, this thing was great, this thing wasn't great. I was, like, fully convinced during my first ever relationship that, like, yeah, this is someone I could marry. And during, like, at one point, I remember, like, I had a girlfriend who was really good with kids. And I hate children so much. But I thought to myself, like, man, that's cool. We could, like, have children, and that would be, like, not the worst thing in the world, as I'd previously assumed until exactly this point. And it's funny because she ghosted me, which I wonder if that's easier or harder to do if you have a child. I feel like it's a lot harder and a lot more illegal to do that, but, you know, welcome to the modern world. And, but yeah, I think all the time about, like, yeah, that was my real genuine thought at the time. But if you think back to it, you don't think back to those things, you just think back to the most good or the most bad, you know? We rarely think back to actual accurate reflections of the past, because the accurate reflection of the past would be what you felt in those minutes. Also, this is our last one now. I guess we have to also do the dirt over there. We'll work on that. Anyway, yeah, like, you're changing your perspective all the time. You're adding all this extra information non-stop. And, like, processing in extra information. Like, yeah, sometimes you do decide that something that used to be great isn't good anymore. And sometimes you're deciding the opposite. Something that you thought was terrible at the time is one of the best things. You know how people say, the school years were the best years of my life? No one thinks that at the time. It's just, it's this kind of, like, history filter that removes everything but the most extreme memories you have. And, you know, like, I can tell you about, I can tell you about in relation to, I can tell you about a time I cried in the shower and just thought to myself, like, man, I don't want to be here anymore. And then I flew home. I know, I had, like, one of the most, like, intense, like, sad, things in my life I can tell you about. Because I was in Canada during the 2016 presidential election. The one happy thing I remember from that entire week, because I'd been, this was during a phase of the ghosting, of like a girl that I loved so much and thought, like, wow, you're the exception to my I should never have kids rule. And she just stopped speaking to me, and, like, I broke irrationally. I was like, yeah, well, clearly, I mean, like, I love her, she loves me. This, you know, she hasn't responded to me for 3 months, but she's probably just, like, sick or something, you know, like, I was dumb, basically, you know, like, welcome to the me of 2016. I can say I'm smart, but I'll still keep making dumb decisions all the time. And, so yeah, I remember I had this, this thing of, like, the one happy moment I remember that entire week was just, like, watching the 2016 election with friends, and I had a friend who was, like, I guess he just wanted chaos, because you can probably work out who he was cheering for in that particular election, and just being like, man, this is, this is like an interesting time, you know. At least I've had something interesting from this. Is that, like, I was on American time, so I could watch an American, you know, a very American moment of, like, here you guys didn't like that president that you elected that year. I've heard that, maybe. Yeah, you want to talk about politics? That's what this Minecraft video slash traumatic confessions from the past slash you know, discussion on how to make mega projects was missing, right? It was missing the foray into politics. You're welcome. You're welcome. You know, whenever I do these, like, podcast-style Let's Plays, one of the ones I try to always add in is, like, a top 5 food list. And so today, would you like to hear my updated top 5 breakfasts? There's a few criteria to be on my breakfast list. Stage 1 is it can't be a breakfast that's so big that it effectively becomes a brunch. I know, I hate the word brunch as much as the next person. You ever think about how brunch is just an opportunity to steal a meal from your day? As someone who loves food, I think that we should not let this stand. This is like a crime against humanity that we just go, yeah, the way brunch works is you take breakfast and lunch, and then you miss one of them out by having a bigger one for the other one. No, brunch is a grand act of theft from us as humans, and I will not stand for it. But speaking of things I won't stand for, I think that this breakfast list is only going to include things that are like relatively light. So I love French toast, or I love French toast covered in maple syrup. It cannot be good for me in any real way, but I love it anyway. And so we're going to exclude French toast. I even have to exclude waffles, because I use waffles as a dessert food, even though these would be very much in my top 5 breakfast list. So top 5 breakfast, let's go. Number 5, we've got scrambled eggs. You know what's great about scrambled eggs? They're eggs, and they're scrambled apparently. You know, we never have scrambled any other food, right? Do you ever think about how there's no such thing as scrambled, like sausage? There's no such thing as scrambled broccoli. We just have scrambled egg. And you know what? Despite my serious misgrievances with this one-off, way to describe something, what's the point of a descriptive word if it only describes one food? I'm just saying, it's dumb. But people don't seem to mind that it's dumb. Let's place our sugarcane down, by the way. Maybe over there as well. People don't seem to mind that it's dumb, and indeed, the taste is very good. When you have great scrambled eggs, man, it is something different. It hits just right for that day. And here's the wonderful thing about scrambled eggs. If you're making them yourself, you can just salt, pepper, add some barbecue sauce on if you really want. If you're eating somewhere fancy, you add some chives on there, because again, using herbs for like my own cooking is like the worst waste in the world. But like have it chives and some scrambled eggs, man, it is good in a way that you do not understand, or maybe you don't believe. But that's an important thing. Speaking of important things, my fourth best breakfast for starting the day has to be. I think the full English is probably pushing the definition of like where does breakfast end and brunch begin. But we do eat it, and we do not have an extra thing. I love. So you got yourself some sausages, your bacon, you got your basic things there. But then on top of that, I love having some beans sometimes, which is one of the weird additions I'm going to admit with you. I love mushrooms, like the way you cook mushrooms for breakfast. You just don't. I don't know why this is. Maybe it's like they're fried. It's been so long since I cooked them, I genuinely can't tell you. But like the breakfast mushrooms are just so good on a level that we do not appreciate. And my God, do I love when we have some. Okay, here we go. We got some of it. My God, do I love I just love those breakfast mushrooms. Honestly, remove the full English from this. I'll have those breakfast mushrooms with some scrambled eggs, and I'll be perfectly happy. But the important thing is those mushrooms, they just hit different, They just hit in a way that other things do not hit. And, I would say if it was hit or miss, it would definitely come down to hit. Anyway, speaking of things that are hit or miss, that are actually hit, I think that the fourth best breakfast, it's going to come down to what Americans call a grilled cheese. In the UK, we call it a toasty. I did not know until embarrassingly late in my life. Like, it's the last, 3 years that I discovered a grilled cheese is a toasty. Why do Americans have a different word for everything? I don't know why you do this to me. I have to make these videos for an international audience, and so I have to learn that, apparently, the same words for everything don't exist. I can't say that I was in year 9 when a friend asked me, how do I get a girlfriend? Because that means nothing to some of you. And on top of your different school systems that make no sense, do you know what's crazy? In American schools, they just hold people back some years. They're like, yeah, you're too dumb to be friends with your current friends, so we're going to make you the old kid in the year. And so everyone's going to know that you were too stupid for the rest of your life to pass a year. And that's fine. We think that the social downsides of that are basically none. And so just deal with it, man. And that's weird. Speaking of things that are weird, a toasty is so great. I think ham is maybe it's because it's so easy, but one of my favorite things is just throw some ham, throw some cheese between 2 bits of bread, turn on on the stove or whatever, boom, it's wonderful. And you know, if you want to go real fancy, you throw on some oil or something. You know, a little bit of olive oil on the bread. Fry the bread first. Oh man, bread, but hot with cheese. Honestly, this is why people love pizza. And you get to have it for breakfast if you call it a grilled cheese or, like the real world, a toasty. And I'm just saying, it's real disappointing. You know, here is the 3-step plan for America fixing its problems with their words. Step 1, admit you made a mistake going independent. I mean, is the right to bear arms really worth having to have a weight system that goes by pounds and ounces? What is an ounce? Try and describe that to me. Like, what does an ounce feel like? I can't tell you. I genuinely can't. You know, it's 28 grams, so it's like a shot, I want to say. That means nothing to me. You failed me, and I'm disappointed on that whole thing. I'm just saying, see me at the end of class, America. Consider, you know, like, if you vote to rejoin the UK, you'll get a sweet flag. You've seen our flag? It's very nice. You'll get to look at this flag every day instead of the American one. The national anthem, I'm just saying, God save the Queen, something about her being glorious queen, national savior. I don't know how the lyrics go, but it's good. You want to be part of it, and trust me when I say that. Limited time offer, rejoin the UK now. Anyway, so have we offended enough Americans in this one now? They're only 55% of my audience. It's fine. We can do fine with everyone else here alone. Or, alternatively, now we have the cool Americans left who understand how jokes work. Speaking of people who understand how jokes work, I have to fix the outside of this too, by the way. Speaking of people who understand how jokes work, the second best breakfast, in my humble opinion, because, you know, wait, is this correct? Why does this go down? Did I build this last layer out a little bit too far? I think I did. Oopsie. Yeah, oops. Okay, I can fix that. There we go. Problem solved. Speaking of little problems in a big way, you know what the second best breakfast is? Do you know what it is? Do you know what it is? Do you know? Do you know? Honestly, I want to just one of my favorite foods, and like this is oh, I'm level 70 by the way. I didn't even spot that. This has not changed despite the fact that I now have, like, you know, like, some people like to say that, like, yeah, everything that costs more is better objectively. One of my biggest counterpoints to that is how, like, bread is one of the best foods, and it's so cheap. You can buy expensive bread, but expensive bread usually isn't even that much better than cheap bread. Like, once you have, like, a nice farmhouse loaf, as long as it's, like, somewhat not old, you know, as long as it's not literally stale, or honestly, it has to be, like, really fresh, in my opinion. Fresh bread that has been baked very recently, in the last day, it's just so good. It's so cheap, and you throw it in the toaster, you throw some butter on there, and man, is it good. It just hits the spot in a way that I cannot. You know, if you haven't tried toast, there's this great new invention. If you use code TOYCAT, you can get 13% off, and man, do I recommend it. You don't know what you're missing in your life until you try just fresh bread, put it in the toaster, throw some butter on there. I like Lurpak. That's my brand of choice. I know that means nothing to some of you, but you mean nothing to me, so does that mean, you know, I would say it was mean, but you deserve it. Anyway, so speaking of things that you deserve to try toast with butter on, you know, like, no matter how fancy a thing is, if you give me like a bread roll, even, let's take this up to the next level, a bread roll, like the ones they give you at fancy, regular restaurants even, with some butter, oh, I think one of my favorites is, this is one of the few good things about the Cheesecake Factory. The Cheesecake Factory is a restaurant in America where the portions are very, very oversized. Wait, editor, show a picture of the Cheesecake Factory. Wow, too big, I would say. Would you agree? And so, the one good thing about that, because the food is, there's just so much of it, and the real benefit is just, it's pretty substandard, if I'm being honest with you. Can I insult the Cheesecake Factory bread? Do you mind, internet? It's just not very, can I insult their food? It's just, I've never had something where I was like, that was so good. You have food and you're like, yeah, that was like edible. I had like a whole amount and now I'm done eating it. That's how you feel when you're done. I've heard that, like, you know, like sports players who need to eat 3,000 calories a day, love it because where else can you go out to eat and get a 2,000 calorie dinner? For most people, that's like a tragedy, you know. But for if you're like a big swimmer or athlete or whatever people do, where they need these, it's great for them. And so yeah, I've heard there are some people for whom it is not a terrible mistake, but for me, I'm out. But the bread, man, that makes all the difference. And so yeah, is toast really the second best breakfast? Yes, it is. What's the best breakfast? I think it might. I hate to say it. It's a basic breakfast, and it's from that one country. But pancakes with maple syrup, or even with I learned that in America they don't often use maple syrup because it's so expensive. They use something called pancake syrup, which is like knockoff maple syrup. I love it so much. I've never been so proud to love a knockoff than with maple syrup and pancake syrup. I used to hate as a kid, like in the UK, the equivalent of maple syrup we use is called golden syrup. It isn't good. I don't like golden syrup very much. I know it's not maple syrup. My brain is aware that this is not the correct thing to go with a pancake, that we just kind of cheaped out, and now I'm the one suffering the consequences for this. Thanks, Mum. And, that I'm just always aware, ever present, always upset. But with pancakes and some breakfast syrup, or some pancake syrup, or some maple syrup, if we're going high end, it is the best breakfast. And I feel like this little Toy Cat podcast has been a lot of fun. What do you reckon? We did something. I don't know if we're quite at an hour yet because we did so much of that fast forwards just to prove a point about how fast forward things can be and then going not fast forwards. But let me know what you thought about this one. And if you liked it, please do consider becoming a member. I think at this point we have basically concluded, the Let's Play only makes sense because I want to do it, and because, enough people are members to this channel, in part because of the streams and the Let's Plays and the long-form survival Minecraft content, for which I really enjoy making. And yeah, if you want to support that, honestly, it's weird to say, right? Because most of the time when someone says, support this thing with money, you're like, yeah, no, it's not going to do that because don't really want to. And, I'd rather spend my money on toast. But here's the thing, if you want some extra fulfillment and you have some extra spare cash lying around, honestly, it does feel good to, know that you are supporting Make Something Happen, because now you become in the same way that you can buy politicians if you have enough money, because you have influence over them. They know that, ooh, they get less money for their re-election cycle. I'm just saying, I'm a terribly corrupt politician, and if you want to have a little bit of influence, maybe get that green name next to your name so that your opinion is, seen just a little bit more visibly on streams and in comment sections. I'm just saying, a great way to do that is via the membership option on this channel. Obviously, what you're seeing right now was done before Thursday's stream. So if you haven't watched that and you want to see the next part of this, because you want to see how this project goes next, make sure that you go to my channel, youtube.com/ibxtoycat, and watch back a few days. It's like a Let's Play, but you have to look at my face, so it's infinitely worse in every way. I hope you all enjoyed this video. I'm going to enjoy my time in Canada. I hope, or I'm going to die. It's always possible. We like to pretend that we're not going to die, but I feel like that makes us poorly prepared for it. Just like how we like to pretend we're going to have, we like to pretend that, we're just going to have, a wife and kids and girlfriend, or whatever your preferred, or boyfriend, or whatever it is you're going for. And, no, you gotta think about, actionably, how is that going to happen? Because if you don't think about actionable steps and start taking them, you're just kind of winging it. And winging it's fine, but maybe we should not too. Anyway, thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you all enjoyed, because I'll see you all in the next one. Good Boyd. Thank you for editing this. This is an hour-long video. Didn't require much, but you had to watch through it just to hear those prompts. So give some credit to Mr. Editor. Okay, see you next time. Maybe not a Let's Play next week. Maybe a couple weeks after that. But I'll see you there. Bye.